Some relationships don't end quietly. They escalate, they explode, and sometimes they end in a courtroom. That's exactly what happened between Taylor Frankie Paul and Dakota Mortensen. What once looked like connection slowly turned into something much darker. Not just arguments, not just distance, but tension that refused to disappear. And when two people can't let go, the situation doesn't settle, it intensifies. Inside the courtroom, the emotions were impossible to hide. Small reactions said everything. A sigh, a muttered word, a glance that carried more history than anyone else could understand. Because when a relationship reaches this point, it's no longer about who's right. It's about what's left. And in this case, what was left wasn't peace. It was conflict. A judge stepped in, creating distance that neither of them could create on their own. 100 feet apart. 3 years. A forced separation that reflects something deeper. Because when emotions don't resolve naturally, they get controlled externally. And that's when things become real. Because behind every public conflict, there's something people don't want to talk about. Attachment. Even when things turn toxic, even when damage becomes visible, letting go isn't always easy. That's the contradiction most people struggle to understand. How something painful can still feel impossible to leave behind. Dakota Mortensen admitted it himself. He couldn't move on, couldn't disconnect. And that's where the situation becomes more complicated than it appears on the surface. Because this isn't just about conflict. It's about emotional dependency. And when that dependency exists, boundaries become blurred. Actions become reactive. Decisions become driven by feeling instead of clarity. And slowly, what started as connection turns into something unstable. But there's something even heavier in this situation. A child. Because when conflict involves more than just two people, the consequences change. The focus shifts. It's no longer just about emotion. It's about responsibility. That's why the court's decision mattered. Custody, restrictions, supervised visits. These aren't just legal outcomes. They're reflections of how serious things have become. And in moments like this, reality becomes unavoidable. Because when things reach this level, there's no more pretending it's just drama. It's impact. And just when things seem complicated enough, another layer appears. Because situations like this rarely stay contained. They expand. And this time, it pulled in someone else, Jessi Draper. At first, her position seemed clear. Supporting one side, speaking out, taking a stance. But as more details surfaced, that clarity started to shift. A leaked voice memo, contradictions, questions about loyalty, and suddenly the story changed. Because now it wasn't just about two people. It became about perception. Who's telling the truth? Who's switching sides? Who's controlling the narrative? That's the nature of situations like this. They don't stay simple. They evolve. They blur. And the more people involved, the harder it becomes to separate reality from interpretation. Even Dakota Mortensen pushed back, questioning intentions, calling out inconsistencies. And that tension adds another layer to something already unstable. But beneath all of this, there's a pattern, emotion, attachment, conflict. Because in the end, situations like this aren't just about what happened. They're about why it keeps happening. And maybe that's the real takeaway. Because when people don't resolve what's underneath, the story never really ends. It just changes form.